When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of love.
Hello everyone, and welcome to You'll Never Walk Alone World. We're very happy today because we have a really special show. It's amazing. We're very glad because we're going to be talking about Bill Shankly, the man himself, Bill Shankly, who said Liverpool was made for me and I was made for Liverpool. To understand Liverpool the way it is today, you have to know the history about the great Bill Shankly. And we all know about his legend, about his achievements, about what he was for Liverpool. I mean, he's the reason we are wearing all red. He's the reason for that bond with the fans, for the titles, for the passion, for the way we played. But today we want to know about Bill Shankly, the human, the family man, the community, the community man, how he was with the people in Liverpool, with his family. And for that, we are privileged today because we are having the granddaughter of the great Bill Shankly, Karel Elizabeth Gill. So let's go with Karen. Karen, welcome.
Hi. Hello. Thank you for inviting me on the show. It's good to be here. Well, virtually anyway.
Yes, we're really happy to have you. So how's everything? Because you're in Athens right now. So how's everything there?
It's kind of okay. We're all dealing with life after COVID, and still as we're going through the pandemic. I mean, things are weird, but we're surviving. Wondering how this is all going to, but like everybody else in the world. But it's good that,
Yes.
at least, there are some good things. Like, for example, we get to speak, like this, which maybe wouldn't be so easy to have done before in the past. So there are some small good things to come out of it.
Yeah, that's great. But well, we're very happy to have you. It's going to be a really special show. Let's open a Champions beer for the show, and cheers, Karen. And well, let's start talking.
Cheers.
Let's start talking about a little bit about Bill Shankly. We all know Bill Shankly. We know his legend. He's a legend to all Liverpool fans and sports fans. We know his quotes.
Yeah.
We know his legacy in the club, in the city. But you knew Bill Shankly a way probably nobody else did, as a grandfather.
Yeah.
So first of all, tell us, what are the nicest memories you have of Bill Shankly as a grandfather?
Well, I suppose like all grandfathers, we had the special, the normal family dinners together, and he would take us shopping, or he would come and pick us up from school and stuff. But it was always a little bit weird because every time we would like sit down to eat, or the phone would ring and it would be a journalist, or it would be Bob Paisley, or it would be a player, and he'd start talking on the phone to them, or somebody would, like a supporter would call at the house in the middle of the meal, and he would get up and go to sign some autographs, or and if he did come to pick us up from school, which was always kind of nice, but then people would crowd around his car and they wanted to be near him and they wanted to talk football with him. So, or if you went out shopping, it was the same. The idea was nice, but the reality was often not so nice. If you're a child, right, and you're with your grandparents or your grandfather, and then suddenly he's just like whisked away by all these supporters, surrounded by them. and they just want to talk about football with him, and he wants to talk about football with them, obviously. So yeah, nice memories, but also, you know, mainly football related memories.
Wow, that's
Okay.
amazing how you talk.
Fireworks.
Just oh yeah, we have some people
I
that are
think we've
watching.
got some
So
fireworks
hello to all the
going on.
people that are watching in Africa, in Asia, in Latin America, in North America, in Europe, in Australia, and of course in Liverpool. But Karen, you were just talking just like a regular thing that Bill Shankly, and then Bob Paisley would show up. I mean, to Liverpool fans, that's just crazy. So
I know.
how was it for you to I mean, live with that like a just normal thing, but living in that city in Liverpool as a child?
Yeah. I mean, it was hard sometimes, you know. I remember when I went to, because I used to live a little bit outside of Liverpool, and then when I was about maybe I was about 9 or 10, we moved into the centre. We moved to West Derby, which was near where my grandfather lived. We moved school, and I always remember the headmaster introducing me to the rest of the class and saying, right, we've got a special new student today, you know, in the school. She's Bill Shankly's granddaughter. Well, he thought that was a nice thing to do, but in the break, you know, in the school break, then these Everton supporters would come up and start, you know, bullying me. So it wasn't, you know, it was nice, but it was also difficult. You know, it wasn't just, it wasn't all great. There were horrible things too. But no, it was, I mean, obviously when we had some downtime with him, or he would take us to Melwood, or he would take us to Anfield. He'd let us run around the boot room, and he'd take us out onto the pitch sometimes. There were some fantastic memories, obviously. Parties, Christmas parties, or I always remember those. They were amazing. So, yeah. But he was football. I mean, football was his whole life. It was his passion. So.
I bet. I mean, he was so passionate, and I bet most of the time he would just talk about football. But I bet there was moments when he was Bill Shankly, the father, the grandfather. So, do you have any memories of him not talking about football that you can tell us?
Well, they're quite rare moments, I think. I mean, you know, he wasn't a very he didn't speak a lot. He wasn't a man he was a man of few words, and any of the words that he did speak were mostly football related. But if we did sometimes, you know, do other stuff, it would be like maybe he would go into the garden, do a bit of gardening, but he wasn't a very handy man. He was a bit heavy-handed. You know, he would get into the car, and he always used to pull the handbrake on the car, and it would come off in his hand. He wasn't very, what's the word? He wasn't a man about the house. His whole life was about football. I mean, people say, oh, come on, he must have spoken about something else sometime. No, he really didn't. He was thinking about it all the time. Even when he was, you know, having his food, he was moving the forks and the plates and the spoons around as if it was a pitch. You know, he was obsessed. I've never met anybody who was so completely absorbed in football, completely.
Yeah, and well, that he basically built what Liverpool is today. And I bet that in whatever you believe or anyone believes, but some people that believe that when you passed, your presence is still somewhere. I bet his is in Anfield, probably.
Absolutely. I mean, I do feel, you know, I mean, I don't believe in any particular, you know, I don't pray to any particular God or anything, but I do get a bit spiritual about this because I do feel his presence. And I think, you know, when you go to Anfield, when you see the statue, when you're in the ground, when people sing, "You'll Never Walk Alone," it is a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual thing. And, you know, he started that, you know. Oh my goodness, there's a picture of me as a bridesmaid.
Yes, he started pretty much everything. I mean,
family
he's the
photos.
reason why we wear all red.
Exactly. Yeah.
And well, he's an inspiration for a city, for a team, for fans around the world, for sportsmen around the world. We all know his quotes, his legacy. But to you, as his granddaughter, what inspires you about Bill Shankly?
I think his determination, his will to succeed regardless of the obstacles. He was a hard worker. He gave his all. He never gave up. He kept on going. I mean, that's kind of inspirational. And when he started at Liverpool, I mean, he was in his late 40s, everything if you think about that, that's kind of amazing. It's, he built that, not at the beginning of his career or at the beginning of it. I mean, he was kind of, he wasn't a young man, but he had a vision and he worked towards that vision and he gave 150% of that's inspirational, I think.
It is. I mean, nowadays I hear sometimes people say that, I'm already 30 and I don't know what's going on with my life. And yeah, he built that legacy after his 40s. But also, Bill Shankly was from Scotland. And then he came to Liverpool. But he's Scottish, but he's probably more Scouse than many people in Liverpool. And he made an amazing bond with not just the team, but with the city and with the city of Liverpool. And why do you think was that?
I mean, obviously, the passion for football was what connected him to the supporters. He understood that they were very passionate. They were very knowledgeable about football. They ate, slept, dreamt football like he did. There was the wit, like a cheeky wit, a little bit of cockiness as well about Liverpool Scousers, maybe, which he kind of looked up to. I mean, he was, he liked Jimmy Cagney as he had these kind of idols in his own mind, and I think he just completely connected with the spirit of Liverpool and the people of Liverpool. And regardless of whether they were Liverpool supporters or Everton supporters as well, we also have to say, just the people of Liverpool.
Yeah, totally. And as we were saying, he's one of the reasons why Liverpool and their fans are so close and so unique and in the world. We were talking about You'll Never Walk Alone. We know about the Cup. But nowadays, Liverpool has fans in America, all over Europe, in Africa, in Asia, and Australia. Huge fans. And what do you think he would say or think about this if he could see that?
Well, I mean, he would be overwhelmed. Obviously, this is things that people couldn't imagine. That we would be so connected with people all over the world, and that Liverpool would strike. Would resonate. That the history of the club would resonate with so many people around the world. It's an amazing club with an amazing history. And I think he would be surprised, shocked to think that so many people around the world would still be talking about his legend and his part in the history. That's the beauty of the internet. You can keep these stories alive so easily.
Yes, that's amazing. And also about football. The essence of the game is still the same and will always be the same. That's why this game is so beautiful. But a lot of things have changed. It's a huge business, sponsors, Well, the football players have to be nowadays amazing athletes. Not that they were not before that, but now it's faster. They have to be stronger. So the game has changed quite a bit. We have some rules that we didn't have back then. What do you think Bill Shankly would think of the modern game?
Well, I don't think he would have liked it very much. He expected his players. I mean, when he played, he would have played for no money. Money was the last thing he thought about. He played because he loved the game. I think many footballers nowadays are more career minded, so they are more thinking about maybe the money. And for him, that was not part of the game. It was like you would play for nothing. That was not, the money was not the motivator. So such huge sums of money, and people being priced out of the game, working people who, went to the game on a regular basis, are being priced out of the game because of the money that's involved. So I don't think he would have hated that.
Yeah, I think so too. Back then, as you were saying, they played for the love, and that was it. And well, but now tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your experience as an honorary president of what was it called? The football fans
supporters committee.
It was the supporters committee.
Yeah. Okay, that was like an initiative a few years ago. I mean, now we've been disbanded. We achieved some things. It was equally satisfying and frustrating in equal measure. But I think it did play some. I mean, it did allow some expression of the supporters. I met an amazing group of people, all volunteer. We volunteered our own time, and I think that's the amazing thing about the spirit of Shankly as well. These people who you meet who dedicate their time completely, there's no financial gain. But the idea is that you just want things to be better for the supporters. I mean, that was the whole concept. It was disbanded now. I think there's a fans forum, and Tony Barrett does an amazing job. I'm not so sure how involved the fans are, if that works really. But, let's hope that the fans keep getting involved in the decision making. I think that's important.
Okay. And now about you were saying the spirit of Shankly. Tell us what is the spirit of Shankly?
Well, the Spirit of Shankly is a group that was set up probably just 10 years ago now. It was when Hicks and Gillette were in control of the club and things were not in a good place. But they were a core group of fans who were determined that they were not going to let Hicks and Gillette get away with destroying the club, basically. And they did protest marches, and they arranged like a concert with people who came and sang and spoke at St. George's Hall, and it was an amazing event. And they were trying to hold the club to account, and since then that's what their aim is. They try to keep my granddad's legacy alive with really amazing initiatives that they do. They astound me. I've met some of the most fantastic people and some of my lifelong friends through the Spirit of Shankly. They're just an amazing union of people. And I think unity is strength. I know it's maybe a bit of a cliche, but it's true. You can do so much when you're part of a group, and that's what they're all about. They're about doing the best for the people they represent, as much as they can. They've been amazing now with the pandemic. They've been with fans supporting food banks. They are selfless. They're tirelessly trying to get the best deal for the fans. So, I mean, I take my hat off to them all. They are an amazing legacy to my granddad. They carry on his name in a fantastic way.
It's unbelievable. It's amazing what they do.
Yeah.
But also when you were talking about when Gillette was having had Liverpool, that tells you a lot about what Liverpool and their fans is. Because here, for example, in Mexico, in the Mexican League, there are lots of owners that are not doing things the proper way. Fans are not happy, but you cannot do anything about it. And even if they do, nothing's going to happen. I don't think there's another club where fans can do something like that, like what happened back then. It's unbelievable.
They were determined. They were going to do whatever it took, and they are very successful. They successfully played a part in making sure that the club at least was delivered from those particular hands, which were that was just a disastrous period of history for Liverpool.
Yeah,
so
it was. But
they
we
were
have some comments here. Say you'll never walk alone. Then George Scott, brilliant to listen to Karen talking about her granddad. Aida says,
George
hi.
is great.
Mark Jacobs, hello from Cape Town, South Africa. Isaac Odello, so Waderin, I think it's in his language. I don't understand, but you'll never walk alone, mate.
Let's hope it's let's hope it's good.
Yeah, I bet it's good. If it's a Liverpool fan, it has to be good.
It has to be
Karen,
good.
Now let's talk about your book, The Real Bill Shankly. First of all, why did you decide to write this book?
Well, I mean, this was like 1992. My grandmother. I mean, I was here in Greece in 1992. My grandmother, Nessie Shankly, died. She passed away. So I flew back to Liverpool for the funeral, and I could see this huge bunch of flowers. And I read there was amongst many bunches of flowers, but I was reading all the cards, and there was a card from this group from Greece. So when I got back to Greece, I kind of phoned them up and said thank you for the flowers, and they were just amazed. And they said, oh my God, we can't believe that you've contacted us, please come along. And they had this small office in the center of Athens, so I went along there, and they had this big cake made for me with my granddad's face on it, and all over the walls there were pictures of him. And they knew so much about him. They knew more about him than I did. They were correcting me if I said anything wrong about him. They were passionate, very passionate. They knew everything. And so they sort of said, it kind of came from that a little bit. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that these people were so passionate. And some of them were young, they weren't even alive when my granddad was manager. So I think one of them suggested you should write a book about your granddad and about, his life, what he was like living with him. And I thought, do you think? So that's what I did. I pitched something to Liverpool Echo. I think it was Trinity Mirror. And they said, oh yeah, that sounds amazing. And that's how it all began. So.
Wow. And before this, did you write anything else, or did you always like writing, or was it the first time you were going to write a book?
Writing. Oh yeah, it was the first time I was going to write a book, but I do like writing, but I wouldn't consider myself to be a writer, but that just kind of flowed out of me. It was so easy to write. It was things that, I had to say, memories that I wanted to get down. I just basically wanted the legacy to continue, I wanted to share my memories with people. So it was so easy to write. It was one of the best things I've ever done. I really enjoyed it. I loved writing that book. It was great.
And I mean, the book is amazing. As the title says, The Real Bill Shankly. There are stories there in the book that fans don't know if they haven't read the book. Before we started the show, you were telling us some stories and showing us some pictures. So I would love if you could tell us some things and show us some pictures that we can find in the book.
Yeah, well, I can share. I mean, the great thing was when I did the book, I got literally inundated with stories and letters and pictures and things that I had no idea. I had no idea that these things had happened. They were such heartwarming stories. It it was beautiful to read them. I mean, one of my favorites is like a supporter asked my granddad to christen his son. He didn't really know the guy. He was just a supporter. He met this guy at some event, and the guy asked him, "Please, would you? I'm Chris. I would love you to christen my baby." And he went to the church. He arrived at the church. He got the times wrong, so he thought it was at 12, but it was actually at 1. But he didn't leave. He stayed there for a whole hour. He was a bit angry, but it was his mistake. But he stayed and he baptized the baby, and they sent me this picture. I mean, I will try to show it to you as best I can. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a picture of him holding the baby outside the church.
You can move it the other way a little bit, but
this way. Yeah.
There. Yeah.
This way.
No, the other way. The other way.
Yeah.
Or just yeah, that way.
Okay, never mind. Right. Okay. Yeah, you can see a little bit there, the baby. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, it's not the easiest thing to show up on the camera, but I mean, I got so many pictures from so many people, but that's one of my favorites because he looks really happy in the picture, and he baptized a stranger's baby. I mean, how many people? I mean, he was a celebrity of his time. How many people would do that and take the time out? But I heard so many amazing stories. They're very incredible stories.
Yeah, that story, I love it. I mean, you told us that story before the show, and I love it because it tells you a lot about who Bill Shankly was. I mean, how you were saying not many celebrities do that, and I mean, they don't have to. They don't have to do it, but it tells you a lot about his personality, how good of a person and devoted to his fans and the city he was. And just saying, yes, absolutely. I'll just go there and baptize your child. And when we were looking for pictures for the show, we found some pictures on the internet like that. He was just there talking to kids in the Liverpool in the street, hugging fans. And there were lots of pictures like that on the internet. So it's amazing how Bill Shankly was as a human being.
And lots of stories of people who wrote to him asking for tickets, and he responded to them and sent them tickets, or people who were they were on trains and they had no fare for the train, they didn't have money, and he would give them, I mean, so many of those stories, giving people money to get home if they were at an away game, or, he was a kind man. He was a generous man. He was generous with his time. He was generous. He wanted to help people, and he wanted to help, obviously Liverpool supporters as if wherever he could,
That's great. And then, so you wrote the book, and then where was the book presented for the first time? Did you go to Liverpool? What happened?
Yeah. I mean, because it's an official book, that the club did like an official launch of the book. It was great. I mean, lots of the old players came along, and they gave, they gave like little talks about what they remembered. I mean, those old players, I hold them they've got a very special place in my heart. They are special human beings. They've got humor, they've got humility, they're amazing. Ian Callaghan and Ian St. John and big Ron Yates. I mean, they were amazing. They are amazing people. And it was, it was great to they were there at the launch of the book. It was a fantastic night. I was just really proud. They had bagpipes playing, some of the anthems that my grandfather used to love, and it was amazing. It was an amazing experience.
And I mean, talking about experiences of Liverpool, I mean, you already told us that when you were a kid, you would play in Anfield, you would just be home and Bob Paisley would show up. So, I mean, what else can you tell us and surprise you?
Kevin Keegan, Emily Hughes, yeah.
Wow.
They used to
We
come
can only
along.
dream.
They would sit in the living room, you know, we'd sit on their knee, and we were so happy because they were our favorite players, you know, Kevin Keegan, Emily Hughes. We had a bit of a crush on them. So it was great when they would come to the house. We would probably pester them and be obnoxious.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, for fans, it's a dream just to see them on the pitch, maybe even meet them on an event or something. But you would just have them there in your living room, just sitting there. So that's amazing. But after you wrote the book, what experiences did you have in Liverpool?
Oh gosh, I mean, there were so many. I've met such amazing people since I wrote the book. It just brought me into contact. It was an amazing experience for me. It kind of put me back in contact with my roots and the people that I love and I miss. People are just in Liverpool. I just miss them so much. That's the thing I miss most about Liverpool. It's the Liverpool sense of humor. And after it was an opportunity after I wrote the book to sort of go home a little bit more frequently, because I've got responsibilities here that I have to take care of. And it was amazing for me to be able. It gave me the opportunity to sort of rebuild my relationship with Liverpool again. It was fantastic.
Well, that's great, and it's amazing that you got to write this book. A great thing for Liverpool fans to get to know that part of Bill Shankly. But if you could talk to your grandfather right now, what would you tell him?
Oh gosh, this is an emotional one. I mean, obviously, I would tell him how proud I am, and I like how. I mean, it's how everywhere I go, like if somebody finds out that I'm his granddaughter, I mean, people just are so enthusiastic, and they tell me how passionate and how inspired they are by him. So I think I would kind of tell him that, he's inspired so many people. And I would also tell him not to feel so bad because he did feel bad. He did feel like he neglected his family later on. In the later years, he felt he'd neglected his family because of football. And I think I would just say, there is absolutely no need for you to feel any guilt or feel bad about anything. I mean, he's made the family so proud of everything he did. And he did something he was passionate about. And so many people have got so much joy from what he did that I would tell him not to beat himself up about being so obsessed with football, because I know it did affect him a little bit later on in his life. So I'd like to tell him, don't feel bad at all.
Wow. And
it was worth it every minute.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, what he did nowadays inspires a lot of people. And Bill Shankly in Liverpool now inspire not just people from Liverpool or the UK. They also inspire and even give hope to people in Africa, in Asia, in Australia, in all of Europe, in America. So to all those Liverpool supporters around the world, what message would you give them?
I mean, I would like to say, get together with other Reds supporters around you in your area. Think about the community. Think about the people around you. Help each other out. Support each other. If you see racism or sexism or homophobia, call it out. Be united. Join the union, because honestly, any union, because together, you can do so much more than individually. And support each other, and obviously, they must be smart people because they support Liverpool, obviously, but support each other. Support the community. Communities are important and they shouldn't be forgotten. Football, grassroots football, support your local teams. That's what I would say. That would continue his legacy in an amazing way if people did that.
And it's nice. I mean, there's a quote about Bill Shankly that he would say that some people would think that football is a matter of death of life, but football is much more than that. And we can see now, maybe back then it sounded funny, but it's right. And what Liverpool does is amazing, supporting LGBT plus, being against racism, supporting all the fans around the world. I think that was what Bill Shankly was talking about. It's a beautiful game that should be about union, and Liverpool is making it that way.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Let's hope that, and the supporters, they can continue that legacy, because that is important. That, and
yes,
that unity is strength is very important.
It is. And well, now just talking about football now, you as a Red, as a Liverpool fan, well, we had Bill Shankly building everything, then Bob Paisley, King Kenny, amazing times. Then we struggled a little bit, but then we had also some good times. And then Rafa Benitez came, Champions League. But after that, it was a tough time for Liverpool fans. And then this man came, Jurgen Klopp, who's also going to be a legend. He's already a legend. Yeah. You as a fan, what do you think about the Klopp era?
Oh my God! I mean, it's such an exciting, time to be. We've won everything. I mean, it's after so long as well. The Premier League was the best, the most satisfying win, obviously, and he just seems like a genuinely amazing person. Like, he loves football, he loves the team, he's passionate, he's the genuine article. He is. I mean, he makes it exciting again to support Liverpool. But for me, it's not just about the football. For me, the club is more than the football. It's what my grandfather sacrificed really his whole life for. So, for me, it doesn't really matter about the football, but that's an added bonus. If we're playing brilliantly on the pitch and people are together as a team and the manager is great, that's amazing. But the club is something else for me. It means something a lot more.
And totally. I mean, I bet that nowadays with all the titles, we're going to get more fans. But this club is not just about titles. And when we started this project of You'll Never Walk Alone World, we got to meet fan clubs from El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico. And first we thought, okay, maybe they just started this last year, 2 years ago, that the club is winning again. And they're huge fan clubs. And when we were talking to them, when did they started? They were like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. So really, Liverpool fans are not about titles. It's, as you say, it's a bonus, and we want all the titles. But it's much more than that. It's about that union. It's about being united, being equal. And for us, it has been an amazing experience to go to Central America and being able to sing "You'll Never Walk Alone" with people from El Salvador, to have last week cup-outs, now you, and having this unity as red men and women.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, red men and women. It's important to stress the women as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
it's amazing.
And yes, and well, now that you said that about women, football, women's football is starting to grow all over the world. Still needs more support. But talking about Liverpool and the Premier League, what do you think about women's football?
Well, I mean, it's interesting that you should say that. I mean, I'm sort of in touch with some people at the moment, and that's one of our goals is to kind of support women's football a little bit more. There was an interesting article that I read about women's football after the war, the Second World War, I think, which really took off, and it had huge crowds. And then obviously when all the men came back after the war, women's football was kind of swept, under the carpet again. And I think, it's something we should be promoting more, and hopefully if I can get involved a little bit to help, help it, get more supporters and more funds and stuff like that, that would be great. So yeah, hopefully it will go forward and become more popular in the future, because it was in the past, but men took over again.
Yes, it's like what happened in the United States with baseball. During the war, they made a league and then it was all over. But football is growing. More and more women are playing now. Now we have more professional leagues. Even in Mexico, now we have a professional league. This is their third year. And I just really hope that it gets bigger and bigger, and that soon they get paid what they deserve. They get everything what they deserve. They played in the big stadiums, because it's an amazing show. I mean, I watch women's football, and the way they play, the passion they play, they don't fake injuries or fouls. It's an amazing show for women's football. I love it, and I really hope that it gets bigger. And if you are doing that, just tell us, and count with all our support to help you with that.
Absolutely, I will. I'll let you know. I'll be in a meeting next week, and I'll let you know. I'll give you an update on what we, on things we decide and how to go forward, and I'll keep you informed, because that would be great. Everybody's support is great. If we can all support each other in these kind of areas, it's all good.
Yeah, that's great. And well, Karen, it was really a pleasure to have been able to have this talk with you. You're amazing, and well, let's keep in touch. Thank you a lot for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much. And when I come to Mexico, you've got to show me around, right? Frida Kahlo's
Oh yes, we
house.
already talked about Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera.
But,
we will.
Yeah, we will. But thank you
and
so much
someday,
for
hopefully someday we'll be able to go to Athens and see you there too.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're welcome anytime. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about my granddad, because it's always a pleasure to talk about him, always. So thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to hear about Bill Shankly, and a pleasure talking with you. Amazing. And thanks a lot to all the people that were watching around the world. Thank you. And remember that when you support Liverpool, you will never walk alone. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.